Meeting of the Daytona Beach City Commission. We're happy and glad to have you with us. Madam Clerk, may we have a roll call?
Commissioner Cantu.
Here.
Commissioner Henry.
Here.
Commissioner Reed.
Here.
Commissioner Paris.
Here.
Commissioner Strickland.
Here.
Commissioner May.
Here.
Mayor Derek L. Henry.
Here.
We'll now move on to item number 4, which is approval of the minutes of the November 20th, 2024 City Commission meeting.
Second.
Thank you, sir. We'll take a motion from Commissioner Strickland and a second from Commissioner Cantu. Do we have any questions or comments? All right. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those who are opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. At this time, if there are any changes to our agenda, our city manager will address them, followed with a motion for approval.
Yes, Honorable Mayor, Commissioners, we have 2 items. Add item 8Y, City Manager's Office Mayoral Zone Support Fund Distribution, $3,000 for one family at a time from the funds of Mayor Derek L. Henry. Add item 11F, Growth Management and Planning, the city's opt-out option for a tax exemption for certain moderate income affordable housing units rented to households who earn between 80 and 120% of AMI.
I move to accept the agenda with the said changes.
All right. Thank you kindly, Commissioner Reed, for the motion, and we'll take a second from Commissioner May. Do we have any additional questions or comments from members of the commission? Hearing none, all those in favor, let it be denoted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
Move on to item number 6, which is our presentation. Item 6A is the Public Works Department Beautification Tree Advisory Board Awards. A member of the Beautification Tree Advisory Board to present.
Good evening, Mayor Henry, members of the City Commission, and Mr. Feature. Merry Christmas.
Yes, ma'am. Merry Christmas.
I am the representative of the Beautification Board. My name is Marty Grimshaw. I live at 4 Granville Circle here in the city. The Beautification Tree Board has selected 528 South Palmetto Avenue as our residential award winner for the month of December. The owner is Mrs. Betty Luznar. She has been in residence at the
love Betty
address
Luznar.
Since 1969. Over the years, she and her husband enjoyed living and caring for an original coquina home and planted many trees and plants. She herself built a coquina stone facing the street. Let's see what's up there. She has a large frangipani tree in the rear of the house, and it's filled with orchid plants. She also has built a coquina pond in keeping with the home. She insists on making sure her property is maintained well and is worthy of the Beautification Award. Her pride and joy, I believe, is the second largest live oak tree in her front yard. She was looking forward to attending tonight, but was called out of town, and as a friend, I will accept this award for her and see that she receives it. Juanita May will present the award.
I've actually been in home when the children visit her. Always beautiful painting, and she adds a historic ambiance.
Absolutely.
It's a great facade, a very grand space. So thank you so much for accepting the award on your behalf.
Okay, thank you.
Please stand over there. You have to hold it.
Yeah.
I'll do as you want, lady.
Thank you so much.
She's also very knowledgeable in building coquina and using stones that she finds around the community that are being thrown away. So
She's knowledgeable about many, many, many things. Please extend my felicitations and appreciation. She's also knowledgeable about how to raise children. She has raised a major tribe of wonderful children, and she is knowledgeable about business, entrepreneurship, just many things. She is one of the great breaths of fresh air that I have experienced during my tenure as mayor. Give her my love and felicitations,
And I
please.
am fortunate to have a son that married the oldest daughter.
Well, no wonder. Wonderful. You guys run together. Good job. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Now I have the next award. Let me find the right paper here. Is our commercial award, and in this month we selected the Hilton Daytona Beach Oceanfront Resort, 100 North Atlantic Avenue, as the winner for the month of December 2024. The hotel has been in Daytona Beach for 35 years, beginning as a Marriott, then Adams Mark, and then Hilton in 2005, and is the first large full-service hotel in Daytona Beach. The hotel has many renovations, including the lobbies, the convention spaces, food and beverage area, outlets, and the cabana suites. The types of trees and shrubs and plants used in the beautification include palm trees, sable palms, crepe myrtle, abelia, coconut palms, and oleanders, and with many annuals used for color, and it's maintained impeccably. Mayor Derek Henry will present the award.
Good to see you too.
Step out of the way.
No doubt. Congratulations to Jim Bergley and the Hilton family. Your facility is one of the most important venues in our community on many, many fronts. I'd like to thank you in advance also for supporting the Mayor's Gala with the First Step Shelter for this year and so many other events that are of importance to the community run through your property and parcel. Jim in particular takes great pride in the city and is a great administrator who understands the value of the overall community, and he's not simply worried about his parcel, but the overall Daytona Beach brand, so we appreciate that as well. The Certificate of Achievement reads, may it be known that this certificate has been presented to Hilton Daytona Beach Oceanfront Resort for distinguished achievement, commercial beautification, City of Daytona Beach, Florida, signed by myself, Derek L. Henry, Mayor of the city, and Commissioner of Zone 2, the Honorable Ken Strickland.
Thank you very much, Mayor.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much for
You got it.
Well, that distracted me. I apologize. And
What's
1, 2,
that?
3.
All right.
Okay, sorry. Try it again.
Went on.
Thank you again, Mayor.
Appreciate it.
Thank you to all the commissioners and to the city of Daytona Beach. Thank you, Ms. Marty, very much as well.
Okay. So we're going to move on to item number 7, which is citizen comments. During this time, citizens have the opportunity to address the City Commission on any item on the consent agenda. And I have one speaker speaking on multiple items, Mr. John Nicholson.
John Nicholson, 413 North Grandview Avenue, on CFKMPS. First one, the 2 lots going to Riddle. The city owns a number of lots throughout the community. In 2001, George Burton asked the city to list all of our properties because there was a property we didn't know that we owned, and it was in disrepair. It was right down the street from Scarlett Golden, and she's the one that said, who owns this property? So we've had these properties for years just sitting there off the tax rolls. They could be used for housing, they could use for business, whatever. It's been 20 years. I think it's time that we go through what we own and what we're not using or can be benefit to the community to get rid of it. Secondly, the roll forward. It's on the consent agenda. Stacy was just bringing that up for the last 2 weeks. Why is it on the consent agenda? It doesn't exactly fill any further information. K, the traffic control. I don't know how many of you have been sitting at a traffic light and there's no cross traffic and you have to sit there and wait for 3.5 minutes till the light changes. There's several of them that I use all the time coming to City Hall, and you catch it at the last second, you wait, and there's no traffic anywhere. So we're the only city that's not on the county system. So now's a good time to check to see if we can get on the county system and have a better system, especially now with the automatic systems where it tells when somebody walks in a room, the light goes on. We can do the same thing with a traffic light. If there's no traffic there, then the light should not go off. Midtown Playground. We spent, almost $20 million over the last 10 years on Midtown, on their sports and buildings, etc. We've been waiting 35 years for a playground at Orr Street Park to replace it. We've been waiting 20 years to replace a playground at the Hilton. There are things that need to be done throughout the city. Hopefully everybody will get something. On the property off Orange Avenue that we're leasing, if for any reason that we need that property in the future, is there a way to break the lease? I know she's going to want it to sell coffee and whatever she's going to sell, but if we need it, there should be a way of breaking the lease because it's very valuable property. We have like 4 city lots in the same area to be used for drainage.
Thank you, sir. Your time has expired. And that was my only speaker for the consent agenda.
All right, do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Second. We have a motion from Commissioner May and a second from Commissioner Strickland. There are no further questions from the commission. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those in opposition, same sign. The motion carries 7-0.
We're going to move on to item number 9, which is our public hearings and quasi-judicial hearings. Item 9A is the Growth Management Planning Department Executive Storage Annexation. This is an ordinance on second reading, public hearing. An ordinance annexing into the city of Daytona Beach approximately 4.20 plus acres of land located generally on the west side of Tomoka Farms Road, south of International Speedway Boulevard, and across from the Daytona Flea and Farmers Market, redefining the territorial boundaries of the city of Daytona Beach to include the property, redesignating the boundaries of Zone 4 of the city of Daytona Beach to include the property, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date. That was I heard Commissioner May.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
And I do have a speaker, Mr. Mayor, Mr. John Nicholson.
John Nicholson, 413 North Grandview Avenue. I don't oppose this, but I do want to remind you that it's an annexation. And our charter says that we are to review our zones with each and every annexation. There will be something coming next city commission on the zones. As you know, we waited 4 years to rezone. Our city grew by 20,000 people. We did not include 10,000 of those in those zones. There have been another 10,000 people. We're at about 90,000 people at this point. That's a 50% increase over the last census. So if you read the documents on the lawsuit and the settling of the lawsuit, it says that we will then have 2 more years. So we will be 7 years without a valid or correct or an honest zoning. 7 years is a long time to rezone. So when you get to it, I'm asking that you not wait another 2 years. April, there will be an election. We can easily put our new zones on the ballot for voting in 4 months' time. We shouldn't have to wait 2 additional years. That's 7 years without people having the right to vote. Thank you.
And that was my only speaker for this item. And I do have Mr. Rob Mayoral here on behalf of the applicant for any questions.
Okay, I just have a comment. First of all, this ain't homes, it is a storage unit. But my second thing I want to talk about, I had to think hard about doing this because Waypointe, when we approved Waypointe, we actually denied Waypointe because we wanted the infrastructure to come in and we need that traffic signal. And it is zone 4, and I do know the traffic there by the flea market. So I know you can say, oh, the county, they could do a lot more than Daytona can. Well, why aren't you going to the county? But I'm going to prove this time, but I don't want the same thing to happen with the infrastructure that's happening on LPGA as well. So I just want to let everyone know that I'm not going to sit and just approve everything coming before without the infrastructure in place. So I will approve this one, but since it's not homes, but I really don't see the need of a storage unit there as well. But that's all I have to say.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Is this a wooded parcel?
4 acres. Right, 4.2.
Rob Mayoral with Cobb Cole for the record, 1 Daytona Boulevard. Yes, it's wooded. Currently wooded.
Currently wooded, so you're gonna,
It hasn't been developed yet.
yeah, but you're gonna
Developed
scrape it
as
clean, grind it up, fill in the wetland, what exists there, and build on it.
That seems like an editorial look at it, but what I'll say is, let me back up. So this is an annexation.
It was a question, it wasn't an editorial.
Well, I mean, what you're doing is you're paraphrasing what happened on this piece of property, how it will be developed. It's going to be developed in accordance with the rules of the Water Management District, your rules about all of the things that you just mentioned. And Miss Jessica Gow is pointing out to me that there's some clearing in this property, but it is not developed. It has trees on it, it has grass, and
Thank you.
like that. So at the end of the day, we are going through the process that you'll see on the next 2 items on your agenda, mainly the third one, to make sure that we're abiding by all your rules as it relates to tree preservation, removal of trees and planting of trees and all the things that I think you were inferring a minute ago. So I'm happy to go through that with you maybe on the third item, but this is a question whether you want this business owner to be in your city. It's pretty straightforward. We are in the edge of the city right now, and I appreciate your comments, Commissioner Cantu, about infrastructure. The project that's going to come to you in the third item is the least, in my opinion, and I think
I already know. You don't have to
it's
explain.
the least impactful thing from a transportation, water, sewer,
But I don't have to
stormwater.
approve it and be annexed,
You-
and then you would have to
You
go to the
don't.
county.
And
or
so the question is whether you prefer the county, well, I'm looking both, you prefer the county to regulate this piece of land. I have full confidence that this city has the ability to handle all of the questions that you were raising on this piece of property, and it's going to bring you tax benefit that you're not going to get otherwise, and a very low impact commercial improvement to this piece of property that is not going to happen.
And this is the reason I am going to approve the annex this time, but I'm not going to keep approving projects coming before till we have the infrastructure in place.
And you should not. That's the whole purpose of the 1985 Growth Management Act and the concurrency requirements that we are abiding by in this jurisdiction right now.
Well, it didn't
on
happen
every
in
project. So-
LPGA.
So, I hear what you're saying, I hope you'll welcome this property owner into the city of Daytona Beach.
And I
That's what we're
understand,
hearing.
you know, that they pay a fair share, goes to the county, but we have no control what the infrastructure, I mean, when they actually put the infrastructure in place. So, I mean, like I said, this is low impact. I am going to approve it, but I'm not going to sit and keep approving homes over in Tomoka till we have the infrastructure in place. And I know the commission, when Waypoint came, we all denied that project. They went back to the county, and they had got that traffic signal that we needed over there. So,
Very
just,
big.
it's,
Real big project. I know this was a blip on the radar, but can we talk about the particular comments when we get to the third item where it actually involves?
If you would like.
That'd be my preference.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, do we have any other questions? We have a motion and a second on the floor. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
I,
Those opposed, same sign.
No.
Motion carries 6-1.
Okay, we're going to move on to item 9B. It's Growth Management Planning Department Executive Storage Small Scale Comprehensive Plan Amendment. This is an ordinance on second reading, public hearing. An ordinance adopting a small scale comprehensive plan amendment in accordance with section 163.3187 Florida statutes, amending the future land use map designation of 4.20 plus or minus acres of property located at 1464 Tomoka Farms Road from County Activity Center to City Mixed Use, amending the future land use element neighborhood U development policy to allow for limited development for self-storage and accessory office uses, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. I believe it was made by Commissioner May and second by Commissioner Reed.
And I do have Mr. Rob Merrill here on behalf of the applicant for any questions and no additional speakers.
All right. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign.
No.
Motion carries 6-1.
Okay. I'm going to move on to item 9C, which is the Growth Management Planning Department Executive Storage Plan Development General. This is an ordinance on second reading, quasi-judicial hearing. An ordinance amending the zoning map of the Land Development Code to rezone 4.20 plus or minus acres of property located at 1464 Tomoka Farms Road from Volusia County Rural Agricultural Center to Plan Development General, approving the Executive Storage Plan District Agreement to allow for development of a storage facility, authorizing the mayor and the city clerk to execute the agreement, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner May and a second from Commissioner Reed.
And I do have Mr. Rob Merrill here on behalf of the applicant for any questions and no additional speakers.
As promised, I'm back. Rob Merrill, 1 Daytona Boulevard, Cobb Cole. So Commissioner Strickland, I do have John Zembel, our civil engineer here, if you want to talk about things like the particulars about drainage and such. I know just about every land development project that we bring forward, people are asking about drainage now. So, this is a raw piece of land that we're going to have to install, improvements so that it doesn't flood anybody around us, essentially. Nothing that leaves this land in terms of stormwater can leave this land when it's developed any more so than it does right now. That's the basic standard. And then you test it by the 25-year storm, the 100-year storm, which we can get into the intricacies if you like. I will tell you that, like you said, a lot of this has been cleared already. We're mindful of your standards about trees, and we're compliant with respect to the tree removal and replacement aspects that are in your code. So we're not asking to do anything different. So this is not a piece of land that's going to be, I don't want to take the words out of your mouth, but you said something about clearing and what was the word? I don't want to use the derogatory word, but something that seemed derogatory to me about how you have to affect the land to build buildings on it. So this building, I think, is going to have architecturally pleasing elements to it. It's going to be basically like most of these self-storage facilities. It creates a compound, so it's a safe environment. It's buffered from everything around it. So if somebody next door was worried about being able to see into it or somebody see out of it, can't do that. So it's basically an impenetrable barrier. And of course, for the benefit of the person that owns it, that's renting it out to people. They want it to be safe. They want it to be secure. So That's what most of these self-storage facilities provide. And as I've mentioned to Commissioner Cantu, it's very few people. We've had lots of these clients that have had lots of these facilities, so they know who goes in and out when they come in and out, and they test the number, and it's very few. So I like to say, and I've got dozens, if not hundreds of these things I've done over the years, it has less impact than a cemetery. You got a house there, way more impact, just one house. So from a traffic standpoint, from a water standpoint, impact standpoint, there's one bathroom, I think, for one of the, somebody comes in and out, they can go to the bathroom, and that's it. So it's going to bring you tax base. It's going to bring you very little impact. It's going to be compliant with all your regulations as it relates to stormwater or tree preservation, environmental impacts. So does that begin to answer your question?
As long as it's not flooding the neighbors or anywhere close by is all I'm asking.
And that's a great question. We're asking that of everybody. And those standards, I think, are in place, and we will abide by them. And so if you want to get into how that's done, we can. We have, I think there's some exfiltration on this one. There's some linear ponds. There's some different ways that we manage the water, both in terms of how it gets cleansed before it gets into the groundwater, and keeping it from going to somebody else's property. That's an amateur engineer. I can get the pro if you want him.
I'll settle for you tonight. Thank you.
Everybody else okay? All right. I'll sit back down and shut up. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Do we have a motion from, who was it from?
Commissioner May and Commissioner Reed.
Reed. Okay. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign.
No.
Motion carries 6-1.
Plan Development Redevelopment. This is an ordinance on second reading, quasi-judicial hearing. An ordinance amending the zoning map of the Land Development Code to rezone 0.86 plus or minus acres of property generally located southeast of the intersection of Bay Street and Ridgewood Avenue from RDD3 to PDRD, approving the First Amendment to the Project Delta West Plan Development Redevelopment Agreement to incorporate additional property and revise the development plan, authorizing the mayor and the city clerk to execute the First Amendment and providing an effective date.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Cantu. We'll take a second from Commissioner Parrish.
I have no speakers for this item, Mr. Mayor.
All right. No questions? Okay. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
Going to move on to item 9E. It's the Growth Management and Planning Department, 932 Mason Avenue. This is an ordinance on second reading, quasi-judicial hearing. This an ordinance amending the zoning map of the Land Development Code to rezone 0.28 plus or minus acres of property generally located north of Mason Avenue, approximately 400 feet east of Nova Road, from Business Retail 2 to Plan Development General, approving the 932 Mason Avenue Plan District Agreement to allow for the expansion of the existing legal non-conforming veterinary clinic use, authorizing the mayor and the city clerk to execute the agreement, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date.
So moved. Second.
Take a motion from Commissioner Henry, and a second, I believe, from Commissioner Parrish.
And I do have Mr. Rob Mayoral here on behalf of the applicant for any questions, and no additional speakers.
All right. No questions, no additional speakers. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those who are opposed, same sign. This motion carries 7-0.
9F, it's a Growth Management Planning Department, Banfield Pet Hospital, PDG rezoning. This is an ordinance on second reading, quasi-judicial hearing. An ordinance amending the zoning map of the Land Development Code to rezone 0.92 plus or minus acres of property located at 2510 West International Speedway Boulevard from Chili's Plan Development to Plan Development General, approving the Banfield Pet Hospital Plan District Agreement to allow for the redevelopment of a vacant restaurant building into a veterinary hospital, authorizing the mayor and the city clerk to execute the agreement, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date.
So move.
We have a motion from Commissioner Cantu and a second from Commissioner May.
And I have no speakers for this item, Mr. Mayor.
Do we have any additional questions from the council? Hearing none, all those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
Okay, we're going to move on to item 9G. It's the Growth Management Planning Department Bay List Digital Billboards Land Development Code Text Amendment. This is an ordinance on second reading public hearing. An ordinance amending section 6.10.J.2.C.III of the Land Development Code to allow for an existing non-conforming billboard to be replaced with a digital billboard along the West International Speedway Boulevard within 500 feet of the Bay List Boulevard, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date.
So moved.
We have a motion from Commissioner Paris and a second from Commissioner May.
I do have a speaker, Mr. Mayor, Mr. John Nicholson, and then I do have Rob Mayoral here on behalf of the applicant for any questions.
John Nixon, 413 North Granbury Avenue. I know none of you were around in the 60s. Lady Bird Johnson, her big thing was getting rid of billboards in the cities and on the highways. Several cities spent a great deal of time and effort getting rid of the billboards to make their cities much more attractive. The city of Daytona Beach, when I got here in the 80s, was doing the same thing, getting rid of billboards. Is at this point, is your decision to bring back billboards, to allow them throughout the city, on the beach, in our parks? Where are you going to permit the billboards? Because going to digital means that they can keep it like forever. Before they couldn't. When it was worn out, they were torn down, and it was done. So it's been 60 years trying to get billboards to the point where they're not obnoxious, where they're not everywhere. Are you aware of what you're doing, and if that's part of the conversation or none of the conversation whatsoever? Thank you.
Rob Mayoral for the record, Cobb Cole, 1 Daytona. To try to answer John's question, he could just call me, but at the end of the day, we came up with a plan to actually eliminate billboards in areas that were considered undesirable by City Commission, and replace them at a ratio of 4 billboard faces to be removed to replace 1 that's digital. And what we did was, when we did it, we cited a few locations that would be appropriate to do it. This particular one that's there already right now is going to be replaced along with the removal of 3 others in order for this one to be digital. I think what most people are finding is that digital is more tasteful. It's not the tacky old billboards that people put up with the wallpaper looking stuff. It's modern. I think it's considered by most to look better. And in this case, all we're doing is adding another location to the plan that we all came up with some years ago. I want to say it's 4 years ago, but something like that. So that's all that's happening here. There's no ulterior motives, John, and this is nothing that we're changing other than this particular location being added to the plan. And it's right there on Bayless and ISB, if you guys probably driven by it a million times, but there'll be 3 others that'll be removed in order for this one to be replaced with digital, just to make it clear. Any more questions?
No additional questions? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
We'll now move on to item 9H. It's a Growth Management Planning Department Plan Development Extension Process. This is a Land Development Code text amendment. This is an ordinance on second reading public hearing. An ordinance amending section 3.4.f of the Land Development Code to limit plan development extension requests to only plan development agreements that have not yet expired, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Well, we have a motion and a second from Commissioner Cantu and Paris. We have speakers.
I do have speakers, Mr. Mayor. Our first speaker is John Nicholson, and on deck is Gene Young. Our next speaker is Gene Young.
Good evening. I'm Jean Young, and my husband Elmer is with me. We are homeowners at 114 Burkdale Drive in Masters Glen, and I just wanted the opportunity to express my opposition to this project that's going to go on behind us. I'm sure all of you have seen in the news neighborhoods that are flooding due to new construction, and we're afraid that's what's going to happen.
This is not that.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not?
No, but it
It's
is something
related
that.
Somebody told me the wrong one. It's not
No,
on there.
I'm sorry, but you can't speak on what you're speaking on.
Okay.
But this is the one that everybody in LPGA is here for, and
We
but
can't
you
speak on it?
but you have to speak on
The item itself,
the item itself.
which is to support or oppose, which I know.
Well, I oppose it.
You
No,
support
you
this.
support this.
Oh, pardon me?
You support
you
this.
support this.
Oh, no.
This
I
item
don't-
that we're speaking on right now
Okay.
is a Land Development Code text amendment.
Okay. Oh, okay, okay, I see what you're saying.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, sorry.
It's
It's
okay.
okay.
And I don't see John, so that was my final speaker.
Okay. All right, we have a motion. We have a second.
Do you want
John,
to?
come on up, buddy. We miss you. You know which one we're on?
We're on 9H, the text
9H.
amendment.
Extension?
Text amendment.
All right, I've been mentioning this several times at the planning board meeting. There is a sign as you go over the Seabreeze Bridge on the right-hand side that is 40 feet in the air that we have determined, or did determine, 30 years ago that we didn't want anymore. We wanted monument signs, not these tall signs. Well, they asked for a temporary.
John, you're speaking on the wrong item.
Oh.
That already passed. That was 9G.
Okay.
You already spoke on that. This is
Yeah.
the Land Development Code text amendment about the extension process for PD agreements.
Yeah, well, in that PD agreement is what I'm talking about. In the PD agreement, they said it was going to be a temporary sign until the condominium went up.
That has nothing to do with this. This is
So PDs are not
This is
PDs?
an ordinance amending the code to limit the plan development extension requests
Right.
On
so-
expired PDs.
on expired PDs.
Like the one we did on,
And LPGA.
Yeah.
and
So
the one we
it
just
has
did on the
nothing to
river.
do with
Yes.
billboards or
All right.
anything else.
You're good. Yeah.
Okay.
You can
Okay.
miss some of them. We're not going to run too much by you. Okay. Where am I? Did I have a motion in a second?
Yes.
Okay. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those who are opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
To item 9I, it's a Growth Management Planning Department. Remove prohibition of food pantries in redevelopment areas. Land Development Code text amendment. This is an ordinance on second reading, public hearing. An ordinance amending section 5.2.b of the Land Development Code to remove the prohibition of food pantries as an accessory use to places of worship and redevelopment areas, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date.
So moved.
We have a motion from Commissioner Reed and a second from Commissioner May.
And I have no speakers, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
So we're going to move on to item number 10, and item number 10 is our introduction of ordinances. Item 10A is the repealing ordinance 2023-268, which established the current zone boundaries for the City Commission. This is an introduction of an ordinance on first reading. An ordinance repealing ordinance number 23-268, amending subpart A, Article 2, Section 2 of the City Charter, which amended the boundaries of the existing City Commission members' districts within the City of Daytona Beach, Volusia County, Florida, previously established by Ordinance 12-23, requiring a new redistricting plan to be adopted for the next regular municipal election in 2026, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date. And are there any questions or comments from the commission on this item?
I have a question. For clarity, John said that we could do this in 4 months. Mr. City Attorney, can you tell us why we're waiting for the next municipal election? Mike's not on.
Thank you. The ordinance commits to doing a follow-up redistricting in time for the general election in 2026, in part because we believe that'll help settle the lawsuit. But the reason not to do it earlier is because there would be additional cost to the city by doing something through a special election process. In addition to that, under the new state statute, a redistricting has to be completed at least 270 days, before the election. So we don't want to move that time frame up too much. We have to have time to comply with the law.
Thank you.
I have a question, Mr. Attorney. Does that mean that the ones of us that just ran for office, excepting the mayor, will have to run again in 2 years?
The repeal doesn't have any impact on any of the commissioners currently seated because none of you are displaced from your current zones by the repeal. You're in the same zones you were in before the new zones were adopted. If, when the commission does a new redistricting plan, that plan would displace one or more of you from the zone that will result from this, which is the old zone, then you would have to run for re-election. But there's no requirement that we displace you when we do the redistricting. We're just simply trying to avoid a statutory provision that was enacted recently that prohibits local governments from redistricting for the purpose of benefiting an incumbent or a challenger based on their residential address.
So we're going back to what we were prior to this?
Prior to the 2023 ordinance. Yeah,
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. We have no choice.
All right.
Oh, right. So the effective date of the ordinance is set to April 2nd, and the reason for that is we also don't want to change the zone boundaries while the special election that's been scheduled to replace Congressman Waltz is underway. That would create an additional cost for the city as well as confusion for the voters. So this would take effect after that election is over.
Okay. We're going to move on to item number 11, which is our administrative items. Item 11A is the City Manager's Office Beautification Tree Advisory Board appointments. This is a resolution appointing 5 members to the Beautification Tree Advisory Board to serve terms expiring December 31st, 2027, and providing an effective date. So the membership terms of Martha Grimshaw, Sharon Weatherholtz, and Robert Ettinger will expire at the end of this month, and all 3 would like to be reappointed. We have a vacancy for Zone 3 and 1 applicant, Teresa Quattrori, and we have a Zone 5 vacancy and 1 applicant, Tangela Hardy. So we'll go around for Zone 1. Did you want to reappoint?
Yes.
Okay. Commissioner Cantu, did you want to reappoint? Mayor Henry, did you want to reappoint Martha Grimshaw as the at-large?
Absolutely.
Okay. And then Zone 3, did you want to, Teresa? And then Zone 5, Tangela? Okay. And then can I get a motion to appoint them all?
Motion to approve.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any public comment?
I have no public speakers.
All right, all those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
Okay. We're going to move on to item 11B, which is City Manager's Office, Parks and Recreation Advisory Board appointments. A resolution appointing 5 members to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board and providing an effective date. The terms of Amanda Glover, Teresa Quattro, Carol Carolyn, and Davida Bonner will expire on December 31st, 2024, and all of them would like to be reappointed for a term expiring 2026. We have 1 additional applicant for Zone 1, which is Arthur Montcastle, and 3 applications for Zone 5 for a term expiring December 31st, 2025. Charles Jackson, Mary McCoy, and Shirley Thompson. So I'm going to start with Zone 1. Okay. Zone 3. Okay. Zone 4.
Reappoint Carol Killian.
Zone 6. For
Reappoint Davida Bonner.
Okay. And then for Zone 5, we have 3. We have Charles Jackson, Mary McCoy, or Shirley Thompson. Okay. And then can I get a motion to appoint all?
Motion to approve.
All right, we have a motion and we have a second. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those who are opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
Okay, we're going to move on to item 11C, the City Manager's Office Peabody Auditorium Advisory Board appointments. This is a resolution appointing 2 members to the Peabody Auditorium Advisory Board for terms expiring December 31st, 2028, and providing an effective date. Let's see, there is a Zone 3 vacancy, and we have 3 applicants, William Biddorf, Dr. Irma Brown-Jameson, and Martin Tooley.
I'd like to nominate Martin Tooley.
Martin Tooley. And we have a Zone 5 vacancy and 1 applicant, Ms. Shirley Thompson.
Okay, Shirley Thompson.
Okay. And then if I can get a motion to.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
Sure.
When we did our redistricting, that's my, yeah.
Let me just say that we included a provision in the ordinance. Thank you. We include a provision in the ordinance, which was on first reading tonight, that anybody who would otherwise be displaced on an advisory board by virtue of the redistricting will remain in office.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
Good. Excellent.
Thank you. It's hard enough to get folks to do it. We don't want to get rid of people who are willing to work. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Reed, for bringing that up. So we're going to move on to item 11D. It's the City Manager's Office Human Resources Division selection of a recruitment firm for city auditor. This is a resolution. A resolution selecting a to-be-determined recruitment firm to provide executive recruitment services for the city auditor position at a cost not to exceed to be determined, authorizing the city manager and the city clerk to execute any contract documents needed to give effect to this resolution and providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Commissioner Cantu and Reed. Do you have any questions or comments?
Yes.
They
Yes.
need to pick one.
I have questions. What's this search going to cost us? What are we going to be paying them exactly?
Okay, that's actually in our backup, and I have a question to ask about that, because it looks like Slavin is cheaper than the local guy that's here local, but I actually think local would be a lot better. But I would like to see if we could have HR go back and negotiate with him, if everybody's in agreement.
When I ask a question, I'd prefer the city manager, the city attorney, or the mayor to respond,
Okay, well,
not
City attorney.
another commissioner, if you would.
well, you asked, I'm sorry, you
I
didn't
asked the
specifically
question.
ask.
It
You
doesn't
didn't
matter if I
specifically
looked
ask,
at
and
it.
you
It
would know that
matters
if
that
you
you
looked in
look
your
at it and
backup.
interrupt
One
people.
speaker at a time, and
If you did your homework, you would know that, because it is in the backup of the agenda.
just one speaker at a time, though. Commissioner, what's your question? And I can't answer. I'll let one of them answer.
Clarify, what's going to be the cost of the search? What will we be paying them exactly?
The proposal from Slavin and Associates that's in your backup has a price of $16,125. The proposal of Colin Bainziger and Associates, who is Commissioner Cantu pointed out, I think their home office is
South Daytona.
in South Daytona, is $36,500.
500.
And they're executive recruitment firms. They post notice of the ads. They try to reach out and contact people who might qualify to do the work and encourage them to apply for the work. They review the applications and make recommendations as to whether the applications meet your needs, and then they present those to the city commission.
Does Slavic include all their expenses, or is that in addition?
My understanding of the Slavin proposal is that it includes all their expenses.
Thank you, sir.
Actually,
We have, I don't remember being.
Mr. Gross, actually, it could be a little bit extra cost if they have to make a special trip back here in the backup.
Well, right, I mean, but both of their proposals are limited by, certain assumptions such as the number of trips, et cetera.
Mayor, if anybody's in agreement, I personally, I could go with both, but I personally would like to see HR actually go back and see if we can negotiate with someone local instead of, we'd have more time to sit and talk to someone that's local than someone coming from Georgia.
It's a $20,000 difference.
Correct. And I did speak, I did ask them a few questions regarding that, and they are willing to go back and negotiate with them.
I always prefer local. Remember when we had preferences around here that emphasized local, and so
I have nothing.
Not opposed to it.
Yeah, I have nothing against Slavin. I just think it would be nicer if we could actually have someone local to talk to.
Is anyone not in agreement with that? You have a question?
I just want to make a comment. On page 1158, it says that for the first company that shows it's only $16,000. Their services will not exceed $24,993. So I know they have extra costs involved. So I don't know if it would be like that $20,000 difference. So I don't mind them going back to negotiate with the local company.
Okay. Anyone opposed to that idea? Okay. We will allow staff to go back and negotiate.
I think it would be appropriate for you all to make a motion to direct Mr. Sexton to go and negotiate with your choice of Collin and Bensinger.
Okay. Do I have a motion to that end?
I'd like to make a motion to have Mr. Sexton go back and negotiate the price for the local. I'm not sure. I don't have his name in front of me.
Do I have a
Can you
second?
state his name?
Second.
Slavin and Bensinger.
Okay.
No,
No,
that's
Collins.
out of state.
Collins.
What is it? Collins. I think.
Okay. We have a motion. We have a second. Do we have any public comment? Commissioner Henry?
Commissioner.
No public comment? Okay. All right. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
We're going to move on to item 11E. The Public Works Amendment Number 1, Early Works GMP for Contract 2428 Jackie Robinson Ballpark Renovation Project. This is a resolution. A resolution approving Amendment Number 1 to the contract for design build services for the Jackie Robinson Ballpark Renovations Design Build Project with Barton Malloy Builders LLC, approving an early works guaranteed maximum price of $6,705,045, authorizing the mayor and the city clerk to execute the First Amendment, authorizing the budget officer to amend the budget as necessary, and providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any other questions or comments?
And I have no speakers signed up for this, Mr.
All
Mayor.
right. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
For 11F, the Growth Management Live Local Act Property Tax Exemption. This was the addendum item that was added tonight. It's a resolution. A resolution of the City of Daytona Beach, Florida, pursuant to Section 196.19783O of Florida statutes, electing to not exempt property from ad valorem property under Section 196.19783D1A Florida statutes, commonly known as the Live Local Act Property Tax Exemption, providing for severability and providing an effective date.
So moved.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Commissioner Cantu and May in that order.
Okay. And I have no speakers for this item, Mr. Mayor.
All right, no, do we have any additional comments or statements?
This is actually great news.
Yes. All right. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
item.
All right, we'll start,
Commissioner Cantu.
start with her.
Yeah, it does start
We'll
with her
start
anyway.
with Commissioner Cantu.
Yep.
Okay. The first one, I think it's on the agenda 12, the legislative priorities. I just have a few questions and see if the commissioner would be in agreement. Looking through that, I believe everyone received a copy from Hardy, what they were sending over to the delegation. And there was a couple changes that I would like to make on there, if everyone's in agreement. First of all, the two pictures of us, huge pictures, they all know what we look like. They all know our phone numbers. They know how to get a hold of us. I would like to change that into pictures of actually what we want them for. The flooding, our police working, Daytona Beach PD, our fire department. I think that has a bigger impact instead of seeing pictures of ourselves on the front two pages. The second thing that's on there, the legislative priorities, there's some other things that were iffy, but I think we're okay. But there was one I would like to take off there about permit and licensing. All we're going to do is open a can of worms. And I would like to have that completely removed off there, if everyone's in agreement. I have talked to Mr. Feature, and he pretty much said that I need the commission to approve that, and he was kind of in agreement with.
Not in agreement.
Oh, what'd you say then?
No, I was not in agreement. I said that if you
You
want
said
to.
you understand completely.
I
You
said
didn't
I-
say that. You didn't say that?
Okay,
Okay.
let him speak.
Okay. I said I understand your concern with the permitting and licensing. However, I did not say remove the P&L. The commissioners at the last meeting approved the list that had the permitting and licensing on there to ask the delegation to evaluate if those funds could be utilized for infrastructure improvements. I do understand Commissioner Cantu's reference to the P&L funds. That does not mean I agree with your stance.
Okay. Yeah, you said a little bit different to me, but that's fine. You understand my concerns. Okay, we just don't want to open up a can of worms while we're in an audit and have that in there. We are asking money for our residents. We need emergency lift stations, and they don't need to see big old pictures of us, that we don't have to remind them that we're in an audit if we're asking for money. We need the lift stations. We need generators for our lift stations, plus we're asking for the building that is flooding. There's no need to remind them of an audit. And we're already getting an opinion from the Attorney General. There's already a state law stating you cannot purchase a building.
Well, you all have already come to agreement about the pictures, right?
Yes.
Seems like a simple.
Yeah, all of those
fix.
were removed.
Okay. As it relates to the information that might bring up the issue of the audit, we voted on that. That was what we wanted in the proposal. Is this her concern? Would that change anybody's opinion of that?
I'm sorry, change it for or against the request?
Yeah, to change your opinion of the prior stance that we took as a commission.
I just didn't understand what the concern was that you want to remove it when you say open a can of worms.
Okay, so we have permanent licensing on there. We want them to support this, and I can guarantee you they're not going to support it. The law is already there, black and white. And we've been in an audit for 4 years, whatever it is. We're just reminding them of our audit when we're trying to help our residents, and we need this money from the state. And I don't see what the difference is, why you don't remove it, because you haven't received money in 5 years. So why open a can of worms when we're trying to get money for our flood victims?
So, is this about the audit or is this about the flood victims? I mean,
that's what I'm saying.
If they care about the flood victims, then the audit shouldn't be an issue. They care about the flood victims. That's my take.
I'm not for removing it. I stand on what I voted for.
I mean, if they want to help the people, if they want to help, if they know the people are struggling and we have a major issue that we need rectified, then that's what the concern should be, not whether or not we're under an audit. I guarantee you there are cities all over that are under audits and still have needs for the community. So the need does not go away because we're under an audit. And if you represent us on a higher level and on a state level, then you need to see the need is much greater than what the audit is. And that's just my point of view.
And I'm sure you listened to Hardy over here, what was it, the last commission meeting, stating that when the city's name is brought up, we don't get money. Do you want me to go fight for this money up in Tallahassee and talk to our state representatives? And I mean, why are we just pushing their buttons? We should know our audience that we are talking to.
Honestly, I believe that there is a reason why we don't get money, and it doesn't really have anything to do with some of the things that you're mentioning. I don't want to say what I feel it is that we don't get money, but there are other reasons why we don't get money.
And I could absolutely agree on a lot of your feelings, which I'm not going to state it either, but you should know your audience when you're speaking to them.
I'd like to hear from zones 1, 2, and 3.
I'm okay with keeping what we have. Did we change the pictures to something else that you suggested?
That's already done.
That's done.
So we have pictures of damaged areas?
Yeah. But they've agreed to change it, so that's done.
Well, what are we changing it to? That's what I just want to know.
Okay. I mean, we're dealing with one question, going back to a second.
It actually is adding just the images of lift stations and the flooding. But in previous legislative proposals, they've submitted the same thing as far as images of the elected officials as well.
Thank you.
But at their recommendation, they've removed that stuff from the document.
I'm good with what we voted for originally.
I'm good with what we voted for also.
Okay,
Okay, and you can find a new representative to go to the State House because Mr. Fiacher was there at the last delegation. Would you like me to put it up, how he was called out? Okay, so I'm not going to go up there.
Yeah, I'd like to see how was he called out?
Actually, I didn't. I have it on my phone. I could go back there and have him put it. But I'm not going to actually go up there and sit there and ask for money for our residents when we can't even take something off that we know that they're not going to support in the first place because there's already a state law stating that we cannot purchase money from permit and licensing funds. And I don't know why we've been dragging this audit on for so long. Now we have a lawsuit being sued by a developer already, even though there's 4 different things, which I can just see more developers suing the city. It's the craziest thing, and I think, was it Mr. Fiacher that wanted an opinion from the Attorney General? And I can tell you exactly what the Attorney General was going to say. They're not going to give us opinion because there's a state law and they don't get involved in anything like that, and we're under an audit with the state. So I can guarantee you almost 99% sure that the Attorney General is going to come back and say, no opinion, because the law is already clear enough.
But I don't understand why you would resist asking for the money based on this, they're really not married to each other. If they are going to give us the money, I mean, they would give it to us. I don't care if you take it out. But the rest of the commission has spoken, and they clearly don't want to take it out. So that's kind of answered.
And that's fine, and we'll have another year without state money.
I don't think they were going to give us the money anyway, to be honest with you.
And you didn't think you would get the money from
I'm just going to
Michael Wallace, but we did.
But I don't think that they're going to give us the money anyway. We just know what it is. Now,
but I don't think we don't need to begrudge that. It is whatever it is. I did all I could to try to arrange for you to be able to do that. I mean, I don't see that this situation is really poking the bear that much. I just see it as that's a need that we have. This council agrees that it's a need that we have. They're simply asking for assistance, even in this area. It's an additional area. So.
A need for what, Mayor? Assistance for what? I'm just asking. It's a need for what?
Well, it's a need for clarification, and I don't see why.
Clarification on what? I'm sorry.
Just on the situation.
On the permanent license, and
Yeah.
we've already actually voted up here for a clarification from the Attorney General that we're waiting right now.
We have.
Actually, what we're sending to the legislative. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
What we're sending there is actually asking them to support a bill or something, which I can guarantee you they're going to say no. What our main focus should be right now is on our residents with all the flooding going on. And how many generators do we, how many lift stations do we have without generators? I mean, I'm willing to go there and fight for this money. But why are we going to open up a can of worms just to make them angry? You know what I'm saying? Hardy set up here last commission meeting and sat here and said, anytime Daytona Beach comes up, no. But every city in Volusia County gets money. We are the second largest city, and we do not get money from the state.
We haven't always been under audit. Even when we weren't under audit, the answer was no. So,
I haven't checked since I've been up here. I know we haven't received money, but I can tell you every city receives money. Even Little Oak Hill has received money last 2 sessions.
and that's problematic of the people who represent our city. It is not problematic of this city, Daytona Beach. It's problematic of the people that we have elected to represent us and to make sure that we get money. That's problematic on them. It's not problematic on the city of Daytona Beach. All things being equal, if I hear you right, what you're saying is if we don't all agree with what you want us to agree with, then you're not going to go and advocate. And so
Yeah,
we've
that's
all
fine.
made a decision, and so if that's what it has to be, then that's what it's going to have to be.
That's what it's going to be. Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I just looked it up. It says we're only asking support allowing use of permit and licensing funds to be utilized for growth-related services and infrastructure. I don't know if that's really such a big ask out of 18 things that we are asking. You are an asset to us to help us get this money. So I hope, please do not let this
But
one
if
thing.
I don't get the help, what
But
can
it's
I do?
one item out of 18.
And the one item is a big deal right now. And it's been going on
They
way
could
too long, and
choose
it
not
should
to
have already
support
been
it, though.
dismissed.
I mean, they have an option to support it or not, because we do have 18 other items on there. So, and it is for infrastructure. It's not like we're asking anything out of the ordinary. In my
Anything that
And we
shouldn't
have,
be
$11
reasonable.
million that we're not supposed to have in permanent licensing right now. And we haven't lowered our fees.
But you have some rules that are not really reasonable. And reasonable people who are elected make adjustments. And if you can sell it to them, that a reasonable adjustment would be to allow us to do this because it's in our best interest and it's reasonable. Now, they may not always be reasonable. We know elected people sometimes have other things that are jugging at them and causing them to make the decisions that they're making. But I agree with Commissioner Henry on that. I think you may not agree with it, but you have the right if you don't want to represent us in that way. Let's just move on. Okay. Any other questions or comments? All right. So we'll move on, and so that means that then the staff will be back to making the presentation. Okay. Anything else on your list?
Was there anything? I could have swore there was something else, now I forget, but Merry Christmas, Daytona Beach.
Merry Christmas. Okay, Commissioner Henry?
Couple things, just 2 or 3 things.
Microphone.
Oh, it's
they got
on?
it.
Oh, okay.
Okay. We did have our movie night, and it was a great success. And I wanted to take the time to thank all the people who came out to help us, the fire department, the police department. We had a face painting session. We had the snow machine. We had hot dogs. We had free candy. We had free popcorn, and we watched the movie Elf. And it was a wonderful time for families to come together and enjoy the holidays. And Commissioner Cantu did most of the planning, and she did a wonderful job with staff, along with staff, and we're always thankful for staff for making sure that our goals and dreams and ideas fall into place. And so thank you to staff. Thank you for Commissioner Cantu for planning, and she plans, and then I just pay. And and we kind of work it together because our zones touch. And hopefully we'll get to do many more opportunities to have some more movie nights at the stadium. Santa Run is coming. The Santa Run is coming. We've got a new route. We're going to hit some areas back in the LPGA area this year, which is something that we've never done before. So we're going to be including our residents over in the LPGA area, and Santa will be coming to town on tomorrow night at 6 o'clock. Santa will start at the Derbyshire Park, and we will hit the Derbyshire area, and then we're going to hit back in the back area of Jimmy Ann Drive, and we're going to go on over to the area of LPGA. So excited to have them. And then we're going to take it on back over to Zone 6. And you can find the Santa Run route on our Facebook page. And here it is right here. But you can also find it on our Facebook page. And it's going to show you the route where Santa Claus will be coming. And I'm so thankful for the police department and the fire department and the city of Daytona Beach for helping to sponsor the Santa Run. Always a wonderful time when we have the Santa Run. Let's see. And I think that is all that we have for tonight. Have a very wonderful and blessed holiday. Be safe, and love to each and every one of you and your families. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Reed?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Well, let me tell you, I didn't get a chance to say anything on 9E. But on 9E, when we approved that veterinarian shop to have that expansion, that's my vet. And we have been going to that vet since I was a child. And, you know, I'm only 10. But that young man is a Daytona native. We always talk about our greatest asset are our youth. Well, Dr. Kyle is a Daytona boy that graduated from Spruce Creek, if I'm not mistaken. And he took it over from the vet that I'd been going to for years. So it's really nice. He told me at one point that the map said that he wasn't a vet office, so he went through some changes. But in 1960, we probably weren't writing things down like we write things down today. But tonight, we're approved for his expansion, so I'm very grateful for that and for him. And so is Weston. I was a little disappointed, but I won't be disappointed now, Commissioner Henry, because they didn't say anything about the movie nor the children's Christmas party in the manager's update. But I guess they were sharing so much other information. They did get the Senior Oasis party in here, but we'll make sure something is seen in January. But I'll start with the Senior Oasis prom. I did go to the Senior Oasis group today and present to a 97-year-old member a little bouquet of flowers or a dish garden. Mrs. Barbara Ziegler. She turned 97 yesterday. And the Dickerson group met at Sunnyland today. And I was able to go and do that. So that was a pleasure and a privilege. And I told her I hope that, first of all, if I'm 97, she still drives. And she's in her right mind. She's got it going on. I hope that's my case. I said, if the Lord hasn't touched me for anything, let him touch my body. I want to know what's going on with my mind. I want to know what y'all doing to me. I'm going to have to say, Siri, call 911. But it was a pleasure to do that today. Senior prom, I did share with them that our numbers were a little low. I know it was a little cool. But I really need, when we RSVP, that I need them to come out, because when Commissioner Strickland and Henry and May give me money for events, they expect folks to show up. So I'll be spreading that out to all of the Oasis, because we didn't have as many as we were expecting, but we did have 188 that came to the dinner. And that's a lot. And one of the ladies at the Dickerson and Sunnyland today told me she has never been to a prom in her life, so she really enjoyed that last Friday night. Now, the children's Christmas party, off the chain. President Jim Jaworski's in the audience of the Tortugas, my partner. The fire department was there, NAACP. The NPHC were there volunteering. I don't know where these people come from and these children. We had 700 meal tickets. He went and printed 50 more meal tickets, and they were still coming. We had to give them food without meal tickets. They just took over Jackie Robinson Park, and it's really, really nice to see children be children for as long as they can be children. And that park is so sweet, and it's so clean. They run around and make up their own games, regardless of what we have for them. You know, the Tortuga supplied the food. Jim's wife and her parents held down, and his daughter, 3-year-old little Julia, my niece, held down the cocoa bar. And we had 3 face painters. Santa was there. We had a jumping bean thing. The train came. They were lined up for the train. Next year, we'll have to have volunteers just for the train. They didn't want to get off the train. They wanted to keep riding, but the next group needed to get on board. So it was a great time. According to Donna Banks, she thinks we had about 1,200 people there. It was a time indeed, So we've got some great things going on for Daytona Beach and for our youth. And so I'm very grateful for that and for all of the support that I do get from my fellow commissioners and definitely from the staff, because I could not do this without Parks and Recs, without Katie's lead. I couldn't do it. So I'm very thankful for that. And I want to just say that as we embark upon a new year and we say farewell to this year, that I hope everyone has a blessed and Merry Christmas to spend time with your family and your friends. And that as we go into this new year, that it's prosperous, that your health is well, and that you just have a great new year for 2025. I look forward to seeing each and every one of you then. That concludes my comments.
Mayor, I did have one thing I totally forgot. We have a Daytona Beach resident. He's a Bronze Star Purple Heart recipient. On August 28th, which is a Saturday at 2 o'clock at Barracks of Hope, he's going to donate $20,000 out of his own personal funds. And Senator Wright and myself are going to do a little get-together there, and there'll be some light refreshments if anybody would like to attend.
December 28th?
I mean, December 28th. It's a Saturday. Yes, and usually don't see a resident actually donating money out of his
He's a
personal
resident of
funds.
the Barracks of Hope, and
The
he's going
Barracks
to
of Hope.
donate. Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah,
Really is awesome.
2 o'clock.
2 o'clock,
On
the
Saturday,
28th?
August the 28th.
And what exactly are they doing?
Yeah.
There's a
December.
Bronze Star
It's December.
Purple Heart recipient that will be donating. He contacted me and asked me to arrange it, and he will be donating $20,000 to the Barracks of Hope.
Remind us.
I will.
I'm going to see if I can come. One day before I'm shutting it down. Okay. Commissioner. Yes, December 28th.
December, did I say August?
Yeah, you did.
Purple Heart is
August, yeah, that's why. Commissioner?
Hi. I just wanted to let everyone know that I met with FPL this week and with Public Works because we have a lot of lights out in the city. If everyone could just be helpful and any lights that you see out on either FPL's website or you could go on our C-Click Fix to report it. The thing is, with everything that's happened in Tampa and everything that's happened in North Carolina, there's less resources here, but if we have as much help as we can to know what is out, I know that they have night crews that fill-ins that are out there getting the lights back on, but I think it's really important that we all try to chip in and report the lights that we see out. Another thing that they brought up was that we could have Public Works work with them in their long-term planning to do something with underground utilities in certain areas. So if there are certain areas that we think that we want to work on, they could plan something out for us. So I was hoping that we could get some consensus on A1A to do underground utilities where we don't have them right now. But they do have a department that we could work with that could plan everything out for us. So we wouldn't have to do it in one phase. We could break it down in phases. That would make it easier. that was one thing. The other thing is I attended, I'm sorry I didn't come to the children's parade, but I attended the Florida Planning and Zoning Association. We won, not we, but the city of Daytona Beach won an award for a public-private partnership for the Frameworks apartment complex that's going to be going on Orange Avenue. And I just want to give a shout out to Michelle Tolliver. She's the project manager for Midtown, and she's one of the hardest workers. So Ken, you're very lucky, and I know you guys do a lot. So she was there representing, and she gave a speech to accept the award, and that was really nice. I also went to the Halifax Historical Museum. Commissioner May had supported this exhibit. It was for the Women's Army Corps. And they had so much memorabilia, and there was people that actually donated their own memorabilia. So if you get a chance, check it out. And hopefully when we get the Parks and Recs master plan, which hopefully should be soon, we could see what we're going to be doing with the Orange Rec Center and make a decision on that. So if anyone is in town for the holidays or wants to bring family somewhere, friends, definitely go check it out. And I just want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy New Year, and happy everything else. Thank you.
Happy Kwanzaa.
All right. Commissioner Strick?
Ken, I apologize. I'm sorry.
It's all right.
The last thing, actually, so just for information, the ISB Beach Approach should be open before Speed Week in February 2025. And the county also has a beach usage survey that they want residents to participate in to see how they use the beaches. So, you know, if you're using Daytona Beach, it's for one reason, the shore is another, Ormond another, New Smyrna another, Ponce Inlet. So it is on our website, DaytonaBeach.gov. That's the new one, right? Okay. DaytonaBeach.gov. So it's on our website, and it's also in the lobby, and there's a QR code if anyone wants to scan it. So just to give them an idea of how we use the beaches, because they're working on, I think it's like a 20 to 50 year plan of what we want to see. So that's it. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
You sure?
Commission?
I would like to know if the seven of us have the appetite to ask for our city attorney back from the First Step Shelter Board, considering what's been going on out there and what popped up in the newspaper here in the last couple of days. I, for one, prefer to be able to ask the city attorney what's going on, where do we stand, what should we be doing, how should we go forward with what's happening. And we're intertwined, and he's not able to give us a total and complete honest answer because there's some conflicts there. I would like to see him come back here and work for us, and us be the priority over the First Step Shelter in the future. I don't know if the rest of you have an appetite for asking for that to take place, but I sure would like to see that, considering that we're named in the newspaper with the shelter and some other things that are going on there going forward. I don't think that the audit that took place out there was thorough enough, if that was an audit investigation, if you will. I would like to see a forensic audit and a thorough investigation on the issues raised by the whistleblower's complaint, and just to be able to have a little more information as to what has happened, what is going on, because I would hate for the city to get a black mark on us because we have been supporting something that had some issues, and I don't think it was thoroughly investigated. I think it needs to be thoroughly investigated, and I'm personally not willing to continue to give money to that until we find out exactly what's going on with it. And another thing, the First Step Shelter Board meetings are not recorded. I would like going forward, since we're tied in with that and the lawsuit and that sort of thing, that all the First Step Shelter Board meetings be recorded and posted on our website. So I don't know where y'all stand with the idea of asking our attorney to only work for us, let the shelter come up with a plan of their own where they will find the money to pay for their own attorney. I really wouldn't be adverse to giving them a little bit of money for them to spend on an attorney. Okay. Well, let me finish, please.
Okay, I'm sorry.
All right, but I don't like the idea we're furnishing them an attorney. We're furnishing them with money, and you ask him what's happening, and he really can't ethically give you the details. That doesn't please me at all. And I really would like to see those board meetings recorded and put on up where they need to be, so that when people make statements and then later on say, oh, I never said that, you can go back and say, right here, such and such a day, such and such an hour, so far into the recording, you said this. And anyway, that's where I am with that. It troubles me greatly that we seem to be involved in something that we had no control over, we didn't do, and just my opinion that our city attorney is to be representing us first priority, since we're paying him and not paying him to represent the shelter. So, and give us the information that we need. Does anybody else have a desire to ask for that to happen?
Well, I do think we're already his first priority. He knows who feeds him. But I would like his opinion on what you've shared. Ben.
So I emailed all of you notice of the lawsuit. I think it was last week or earlier this week. At this moment, I don't believe there's a conflict between my representation and our office's representation of the city in the lawsuit and my representation, which you've contracted for me to provide to First Step Shelter as the general counsel. Note that we're not representing First Step Shelter in the lawsuit. They have an attorney provided by the insurance agency. And the reason why I concluded I don't think that there's a conflict is the grounds that we would use to try to defend ourselves and remove ourselves as a city from that lawsuit would not disadvantage First Step Shelter. However, under the ethics rules, if an attorney is ever in a situation where the clients perceive that representation of one would lead to less than full and adequate representation of the other, then that's a perception of a conflict, and that itself is a concern. And I think that's what Commissioner Strickland's raising. What I'll also tell you is that, particularly beginning with the filing of the whistleblower complaint, the representation of First Step Shelter has consumed a substantial amount of resources for my office. So you've contracted with First Step Shelter for us to provide those general counsel services. As long as we're under contract, they are a client of ours, just like you're a client. And I don't know that I would say that I have a priority of the city over the shelter, because you're both clients. And if I had a conflict, I'd have to bow out of that conflict by advising you, and you would then give me direction to stop representing First Step Shelter. So technically, I think as of this point, I don't have a conflict. I could certainly bring back a request for you to waive any conflicts there may be, but again, I don't think there is one. This was done originally when you contracted with First Step Shelter. The big problem for our office has been the amount of resources consumed in representing First Step Shelter, especially over the last 6-8 months.
I think that right now there may not be a conflict, but I do see it worked really well until we started having some issues there. And now we're up here trying to make decisions about your representation. because it's all convoluted now. It's all entangled. And I would really, really like to see you step back from that, let them use their insurance company or find a way to get their own representation and separate you from that and get you back here representing us full time on all our issues, so that when we ask you a question about what's happening with the shelter, you can tell us what you know, because you're not out there and in conflict with it. Probably not, but now we might need him later on if this decides to go sideways anymore. So why don't we get him out of there now and then let it go forward?
But is the insurance attorney only there because of what they're going through now?
Yes, the attorney is the litigation counsel in the attorney.
So that's not their everyday legal needs, which is what you were
Legal
covering.
need is for him to be able to advise the board, just as he advises us, and you all favored me with that service, because I don't want to be on the board without his insight and professional expertise. It's important to me, but I am very sensitive to all of your sentiments, and I would like for them to, I will communicate those to the board, and, you know, everything that you're saying, and I think that it's important for you to continue to do what you're doing, so that the board is cognizant of how sensitive we are, one, to being named in any sort of litigation, and two, to the depth of commitment that's being made out of his office. And in fact, I would like for you to determine what the numerical value of that is, so that the First Step Shelter can use that as a sort of a pro bono amount of money that we're taking in, for reasons that don't have anything to do with this, but I think it's important that we know that the city's doing a lot more than giving $400,000 a year, which I think is enough, and I wasn't trying to overstep you. I just wanted to say, no, we don't need to give any more money to the shelter. I think we are at the point that where we need to be committed, not another dime, in terms of even for them to get another attorney. So I just, even when we give money that's donated to the shelter, even the money that you donate for the gala, all of that money I have directed the staff, it goes to help us in the future with funding the shelter in the future, not the immediate needs. So in
Setting
other
up a
words, I have-
foundation. You mentioned
I have
setting
an
up a
objective
foundation.
of having a foundation.
Right.
So all of that money needs to go into a foundation. So when we buy a ticket to the gala, it's not to go to the shelter funding for now. But we got to get to a point where we're funding the future and the posterity of the shelter. But I am sensitive to what you're saying and would like to go back and review it so that it can be expressed to the board, because I think they need to understand that there are a lot of people who are not happy with, and from my perspective, it's more or less the investigation or the lack of investigation, as you've expressed, with the lack of willingness. And while I do not encourage us to enter the withholding of any funds at this time, I think the work is too important, but at some point in time, the board will have to maybe make some different decisions if they're not meeting our expectations as it relates to being transparent. Our meaning this board, and specifically you at this particular moment. But I don't wish to have our attorney vacate his current role.
At this time, how about in the future?
Well, everything is. I never wanted it to be in a permanent role.
Right.
You know, but I wish we weren't in a role where you felt threatened or feeling as though you're not able to get the information that you need. So it's a very difficult and challenging situation for me to serve in both capacities, but I'm never really conflicted. I've got two roles, and they both are important. And I've said this to the First Step Shelter Board. While I support the executive director, my objective and agenda is always First Step and its posterity. I support the city manager, but my objective and agenda is always the city of Daytona Beach. It's going to always go before the manager. It's always going to go before the executive director. And I think sometimes people lose sight of that. I work for the residents of Daytona Beach. I work for the residents of the shelter. But I do understand your sentiments, and I would encourage you to continue to raise them and raise the concerns that you have, because I believe they're legitimate and have my respect. Yes.
Okay, one more thing. Ben was trying to listen to you, so he couldn't answer my question. And I'm not sure what word was used, but in order to satisfy Commissioner Strickland's concerns, and perhaps some of the concerns that we may have as well, should we perhaps write something that says that we would not be a part of a suit, that he's just there for legal guidance, like recuse him from any...
I don't know if you can do that, but
I don't know if you can.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think what you'd have to decide is to terminate the contract for service with First Step Shelter. Regardless of whether you terminate it or not, if the lawsuit progresses and based on information disclosed in the lawsuit, I end up having, as a matter of fact, a conflict. First of all, I have to bring that to the attention of both this commission and the First Step Shelter Board to get a waiver. If it is a conflict that can be waived, but some conflicts can't be waived. I might have to withdraw from representing one or the other. Obviously, at that point, you would have to terminate the contract so I could withdraw from representing First Step Shelter. We're not there yet, and if we get there, then I've got to come back and report to you regardless. So,
So I'm satisfied with that. Is there anything else though that you wanted to address? Because I want to make sure, because I'm not hiding anything, and I have nothing to hide, and I'm clear with the board, but you are attentive to the shelter, and I've always appreciated your work and attentiveness to it. So is there anything else we should know or feel as it relates to what you think?
I would just back here where I said that the issues brought up by the whistleblowers to be investigated by an investigator that knows what they're doing, and would interview all the witnesses rather than say, I called two of the whistleblowers and they said they were looking at getting an attorney, but they never got back with me, so I didn't call them. That's not what investigators do. If an investigator talks to you and you say, well, I'm not going to talk right now, I'm getting an attorney, and I'll call you or have my attorney call you, and if they don't call, it's up to the investigator to pursue that. And that was never pursued. It was like, well, for more money, I'll do this, and a little more money, I'll do that. That was not true, a true investigation, in my opinion. And I'd really like to see somebody come in that has law enforcement or investigative experience, and when they ask questions, they get answers. Whether they're factual answers or lies, at least they get an answer, not, well, they didn't get back with me, so I moved on. No, it don't work that way when you're investigating something, you know?
I just think it's important. In my view, I don't want there to be any negative criticism of Mr. Simpson. Mr. Simpson was aware that he was being brought in to do a preliminary investigation for a limited amount of funds at the direction of the board. And Mr. Simpson wanted to continue on with the investigation, but the board decided not to spend that money. And when when the board was first presented, and they asked me to try to find some investigators, with some alternatives, I did present to them the alternative of an experienced investigator who bills at the rate of $350 an hour, as it investigated lots of local government whistleblower complaints, and I told the board that the scale of the investment of that was going to be pretty substantial. The board didn't want to go there, so the board got a preliminary investigation and then decided not to spend above the maximum that they originally committed to. So again, and I'll tell you, and I'll tell the board, Mr. Simpson had not conducted an investigation like this before, but he is an attorney who deposes people under oath, it cross-examines them, and so did have a good skill set, and in addition a CPA to do that. But I asked him to look at doing that in consideration of the fact that I was aware that the board may not have wanted to spend too much money on it. So.
So that would be why he didn't depose anybody or subpoena anybody to come in.
Well, the First Step Shelter doesn't have subpoena power, and
he didn't have subpoena power when he was investigating.
Power in that kind of investigation. So the person, my understanding is he interviewed 2 people under oath with the court reporter present. Actually, I think 3, and at that point there was no more money. So, and crucially, he wasn't able to interview the whistleblowers initially because they had gotten an attorney and told them that they would contact him back when, through their attorney at some later point. The attorney didn't contact the First Step Shelter back until, ironically, I think the day after the board had voted to stop the investigation.
Let me say something to the commission. All of this has come at a sort of a critical time in the life of the shelter. Couldn't have come at a worse time. And so for me, my priority is not to say that any of the issues that Commissioner Strickland and other members of our community is not important. They are important. But I don't believe that it, as bad as some of the things may, I don't know how bad they were, but it's, in whatever light some of the things that have transpired at this shelter related to the whistleblower might shine on the shelter negatively. I don't believe that it rises to a level that I've been so concerned with it that I needed to reverse my course immediately. And I'm saying all of that to say that my immediate course of action at this immediate time for the next several months until certain things are clear and transparent is to secure the future of the shelter. And so there are certain things that we're working on to secure the future of the shelter that's where my attention is, and it's not to create an environment that says that we got to keep this friction going. But I understand the people who feel the need to do that. But it's just not where my attention is at, and it's not going to be there. So I can't support some of the drive, even that say the question to say, don't give the shelter money. For me, that just is not where I am. And I hope you all understand what I'm saying, because I know that tomorrow we'll have an article in the paper, and none of that's good for the shelter. And so I'm not going to give a whole lot in order to kind of stay out of that.
I have a question. I read that report as well, and it didn't seem like an investigation to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I agree with Commissioner Strickland. It actually seemed nonsense that the shelter paid that much money for what was given to them. But I do have a question. Are you saying that the city is trying to get out of funding?
No, he actually alluded to funding. And I'm saying that my biggest concern is essentially securing the posterity and the future of the shelter. So I'm not doing things, and I don't believe that it rises to a level of malfeasance that warrants a lot. Now, it may warrant something, but not for me to give
Right.
my attention is where it is, and it's for the shelter.
I think eventually the shelter should stand on its own feet, if you want to say that. But I do have a question, a legal question for you too. That House Bill 1368, where cities and counties are required to provide temporary shelter where individuals who experience homelessness will receive drug and mental health treatment, and a resident can sue a municipality or the county if we don't have a facility. So what would happen?
I think it's 1365.
1365, sorry,
Yeah.
yes it is.
So, that law, which took effect on October 1st, prohibits counties and municipalities from allowing people to repeatedly camp on public property. There's a specific definition of camping. It's a either-or definition, but both the either and the or involve lodging or sleeping overnight with some stuff like a tent or things like bedrolls and stuff like that. So the violation of that law would be if we repeatedly allowed that. Now, we have a camping ordinance as it stands right now, and I'm confident that if we enforce the ordinance even as it's written, we should be okay with complying with the statute, which prohibits repeatedly allowing. But, it's a new statute. There's no case law on it.
Okay. I was just curious because it says that a city and county are required to provide. So,
and
it says a resident can sue if we're not providing that.
The shelter provision in the statute is a provision that basically says the county has the one exemption from this prohibition on allowing people to camp on public property. A county can set up for a period of up to 1 year, subject to certain conditions, an outside temporary shelter. It's got to meet certain health standards. It's got to be reviewed by DCF. That decision to operate that shelter has to be made by the county. It can't be in the same place for more than a year. It has to be moved. And if the county wants to set up that outside facility within the boundaries of a municipality, it's got to get the approval of the municipal governing body. There is no authority in the statute for a municipality to set up an exception within its boundaries to the prohibition.
It just has to get permission from us if they wanted to use.
The county would have to get permission
Correct.
from the city if the county wanted
Thank
to do
you.
something within our boundaries.
Yes, ma'am.
Then do they pay you?
No.
Or are you working pro bono?
This is a service provided by Daytona Beach.
It's a service provided by Daytona Beach. Okay, and the other thing is the investigation, so-called investigation, it wasn't really to determine if the claims that the people made were true or not, but is that if they had whistleblower status. Is that correct?
No, I mean, whether they're protected by the Whistleblower Act will ultimately be one of the issues decided in the case. It's possible that First Step Shelter, through its attorney, could argue that the complaints didn't fall within whistleblower protection. And when I discussed this with the board, I told the board that when I analyzed the complaint, I thought at least one of the allegations, if true, would invoke whistleblower protection. The Whistleblower Act does not require an agency. It typically applies to government agencies. In this case, it applied to First Step Shelter. It doesn't say that an agency has to investigate the complaint. The function of the Whistleblower Act is that if a complaint is made that is protected under the Whistleblower Act, somebody can sue the agency or the other employee for retaliating against the whistleblower by, say, terminating them or negatively affecting, their employment status. The reason why First Step Shelter investigated that complaint is because some of those complaints, if true, would have related to things like malfeasance or misfeasance, which the mayor was mentioning, and the First Step Shelter would have its own interest, presumably, in finding out if that was the case, if there had been malfeasance or misfeasance.
Well, I agree with Commissioner Strickland that I think it should be separated, the legal advice that they receive and then the legal advice that we receive. And also I'd be for having the meetings recorded. And I just have to do a little bit more research on your initial request about the audit. I'll get back to you next meeting.
Okay. Well, I would not want their meetings to be on our website, or I will go back and tell them that we would like their meetings recorded, but I don't want them on our website or for us to, as a city, to control have anything to do with that. I want us to be as removed from them as we can as a city. So I don't want it on our website and don't think it should be. It's my opinion, but.
Is it time to change the subject?
If we're done, it is for me. I'm ready to move on. It's your time, though. Go ahead.
Just one other thing. Is there an established rule or something for us to be able to cap the amount of spending on the consent agenda when you look at 100,000 here, 150,000 there, 250,000? I think we were in excess of $2 million for tonight's consent agenda. I'm uncomfortable doing a consent agenda for that kind of money in total. But that's just me. Yeah, y'all may not agree with that. Y'all may be okay with it. But when you add up how much money was involved in the consent agenda, it was over $2 million.
Yeah, but if you have an item on there, just take it off. Just, if there's something that bothers you, just even if it's 57,000 or that you want more information or discussion or something else, just take it off the consent agenda. You can take anything off the consent agenda.
I'm aware of that.
Okay. Well, I'm just giving a suggestion that I personally don't think it.
Just leave it like it is and go through and pull all the ones that are too much money.
Yeah.
That you think that I think.
Anytime they're on there and they're too much money, we had one commissioner. That's what she would do. If she didn't like that, she'd pull them. Didn't like certain amounts of money or certain things that were appropriated. She just pulled them. So I do it. I want any commissioner to be aggressive about pulling things if you think it needs to be pulled.
All right. Well, I'm done. Here we go. And Hanukkah starts on the 25th, right with Christmas. I think Kwanzaa's right after that. Y'all happy ones of whichever you celebrate. And see you next year.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
Just reminded me of something. Commissioner Strickland just reminded me of something. I think we all received the email from Mr. Fiacher regarding that we've been talking to about for the last two commission meetings regarding transferring funds from one fund to another to help with the budget. Actually, I talked to him, and actually that's what I need to keep track. And he's agreed to do that, weekly, bi-weekly?
We're going to probably give it monthly.
Monthly? Okay, and I'm okay with that monthly. And that would help us keep track of what is being transferred to what account. Okay. So when budget time comes up, we're just not faced with all that.
Okay, very good. Commissioner May?
All right, so I did attend the Xmas party with Commissioner Strickland and his fantastic wife, and Commissioner Reed, and Ms. Henry was there too. I wasn't there, but we were all present and participating in the no offense intended.
I can't hear you.
Oh, good, perfect. I'm grateful we didn't hear that. Okay, good, here we go. So thank you so much to the commissions who participated in the Christmas event, and that would be Commissioner Henry and Commissioner Reed, Commissioner Strickland, and myself. I had a really good time. I really enjoyed watching everybody dance.
The Oasis.
Yes, the Oasis Christmas party. I really enjoyed my evening there, and they were all having a really good time. So definitely next year I'll be participating again, and maybe I can plan something for them through the year. I would love to plan a couple of dancing events throughout the year. I was really motivated by seeing them.
I actually shared with them today that you may be interested in doing something like in June.
Or sooner.
Because they're not going to come out that much. At first you were saying once a month. I'm telling you, they ain't going to come out that much.
I was excited. I was excited for once.
Yeah.
But I'm working on that right now with the city, so hopefully we can do that. But it was heartwarming to see so many people of varied ages, over the age of 70 and 80, dancing. Literally dancing tonight. It was really good. Also, I attended with Commissioner Paris the Historic Museum event. Good event. They did give us some gifts. They gave us some tokens of appreciation. And at the next meeting, first of the year, I'll be there to give it to you, as well as providing you with a little video production. Whenever I give money out, I like for the people involved to give me something back that I can come back and say to you, hey, this is how the funds were spent. Well attended, over 100 people participated, came through their doors, which was a busy day for the museum. So we'd like to do some more events with them. I've sponsored things with children's programs, with the middle school and the Hunt House, and then also the museum. And I'm hoping all of this is kind of building into us getting back to our historic tourism, trying to find a way to keep that moving, right? Also, just remember, you can't miss it, the downtown lights. You can't miss it. I live across the bridge, and I see the lights, and people are coming. Also, there are vendors out there, so please come and participate. And then to everybody, before that, we have a triathlon that happens here once a year. Now, I know that our residents are aware of the triathlon, but is there any way that we could do something to start letting people know, maybe on the west side, that when they come to Daytona Beach, it's going to take them a really long time? Because I was getting some calls of people who have been waiting like an hour and a half because you're not allowed to cross over. So I would tell my clients, people I know downtown, hey, you're not going to have a lot of traffic right now, but could we do a little bit more promotion on the west side so that when they're coming to Daytona Beach, they're not stuck, right? And then finally, where I'm from, we say compliments of the season to all. So compliments of the season, and thank you so much for your attention.
What does that expression mean? I like it, but
it's non-denominational.
Yes.
So it's in South Africa, we have people who are, we have many cultures in one country. And so we don't say one particular thing. We honor all of them by saying compliments of the season, whichever applies to you.
Yeah, I kind of figured that, but I do like the expression. Okay. Happy birthday, Commissioner Strickland. Well, I'm happy that you're still here on your birthday. I don't want to be saying something else. Okay, so I'm happy, and happy birthday coming, Commissioner Paris, as your birthday is on its way. The Mayor's Fitness Challenge will commence on January 7th. If you have not signed up, please sign up and come out and join us for what promises to be 10 weeks of excellent exercise, nutrition, city camaraderie, and you also get to see the facilities in the city in a different light. So if you have not, please sign up. $20, the best $20 that your money that you can spend. I would like to express my appreciation to the leisure services. Last night and this week, they ignited the basketball season. So once again, I am on the hardwood coaching, and I so enjoy doing that. And I've got this year a team of 9 young men, and when I tell you they are awesome. Not talking about basketball, but and recently I had a young man who posted on social media about how disrespectful kids are and how much better his generation, which is my generation, was than the current generation. And press like if you like it. And I was one of the few people to just say, heck no. Heck no. I went to school, and I don't know if you all did, but I went to school with some turds. They were not all wonderful. And so I've got kids that are all residents of Daytona Beach, and every time I go to practice, when I tell you guys, they are respectful, they compete hard, they fight hard on the court, but yet they get along, and they leave me. I leave with a warm feeling of this generation this is a good generation. So I love what our city does and the work that we do, and I love setting an example as a guy who coached for many years to other people about coaching young kids. It's really one of the reasons that I do it, is to show folks that, this not only is it fun, it's necessary, it's a great thing for our community, but our kids need it. And then final thing I want to say is for the first time in 12 years, I'm going to be off the grid for an extended period of time. From December 30th until January 6th, it will be unlikely that I will respond to emails. It will be unlikely that I will be available if we have an emergency. So who's the deputy mayor? Is it still you? So please be apprised that on those days I will probably be unavailable should something transpire. And if you're in radio land, if you call me or you email me and I don't respond, I'm hoping to take those days to enjoy the people that I love the most and be away from the grid. So with that being said, yeah, she's still one of the people that I love the most. Yeah.
That's not, we said, can we all say that? That's what we said.
You can all say it, yeah. But I'm just letting it be known that I won't be in response and then for the first time, because the last 12 years I've never done that. So, Mr. Manager, do you have anything?
Merry Christmas to everyone.
All right.
Happy holiday.
All right.
We didn't mention the Christmas parade that the city hosted.
The Christmas parade was awesome.
And getting bigger
each year. Next year, let's make sure that I don't know if we've invited all of our schools, but Daytona Beach schools, not named Seabreeze. I can understand why Seabreeze is always in the Ormond parade, but we want our schools in our parade. Especially if they're getting lots of money and resources from us. Not that they haven't been, but we want to make sure that we invite all of them to be a part of our parade. But our parade is getting better and better every year, and we're proud of the staff who does it. What's that expression again? Okay. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, and compliments of the season.
Oh, wait.
You gotta.
And no. Yeah, we're going to hear from the residents of Daytona Beach at this time. I was going to hit the gavel and then do them, but anyway, I like that. I'm going to try to remember.
Our first speaker is Tom Caffrey, and on deck is John Nicholson.
Yes. Compliments of the season.
Good evening, everybody. Tom Caffrey, 816 Main Street, world's most famous brewery, and I'm here on behalf of the Main Street Merchant Association. So thank you for hearing me tonight, Commissioners and Mr. Mayor. We had the first annual Light Up Fest, November 30th, coupled with Shop Small Saturday. It was a great success. The wrapped streetlights on Main Street really added to the ambiance. The event included free hot chocolate from Giuseppe's Pizza, an appearance by Mr. and Mrs. Claus, snow machines, live music, food trucks, retail vendors. It was probably the most kids I've seen and families on the street since I've been on the street for the last 6 years, so that was real nice. Brick and mortars were open late for a change. The Humphreys were actually open after dark and really enjoyed the event. So that was fun. The Main Street Merchants are looking at holding an event roughly either in the middle of February or mid-March, either before or after Bike Week. Themes to be determined. New Year's Eve is coming up. We will have our ball drop on the street. That's done by Al Smith Productions in the city of Daytona. It's always a great time. If you've never been, there's music, vendors, Main Street Merchants is going to be helping this year with a kids zone, so we'll be involved in that. Want to just say thank you to the city of Daytona Beach, our Zone 3 commissioner and all of our commissioners and mayor, staff as well. The redevelopment department's been key as well as their board. The Ocean Center, one of our sponsors, Main Street Tattoo, and all the other partners that we've been doing. This has been a great time for us, and we look forward to having many more events. So thank you. And we say in our household, Merry, Happy Christmas Quanasis. So that's very weird, but that's what we say. Have a great time.
Our next speaker is John Nicholson, and on deck is Sylvester Peterson.
John Nicholson, 413 North Granbury Avenue. One, Monica, I talked to the post office. They are renovating the post office, and they will be replacing all that metal, and they will do the landscaping. Secondly, Paula, I'll talk to you later. Last week you said the figure $200,000 for BCU. I got the figures, it's much less. But we'll talk.
I did not ask the manager to tell us. The manager gave you those numbers.
Oh, okay.
So you need to talk to him.
All right, and then Ken is not here, but I would ask anyone here interested with planning. The county is going through this, and they've had several meetings. Clear cutting always comes up. We may want to do something about clear cutting, where somebody comes in and wipes out every single tree on 5,000 acres. It's not to our benefit. We may want to look at that. Secondly, filling in the wetlands. That has come up several times. We may want to look at that. And lastly, raising the land, especially over in Victoria Park. There's a lady that sits in the middle. Victoria Park went up around her 5 foot. She sits down on the original land and she floods every year. And there are like half a dozen people that have come in. The same thing happened in there. So we may want to look at raising the land for the new development, leaving the old development down so they will flood. At my Beachside Neighborhood Watch meeting, I made a comment. I had talked to Chief Chikari Young about retiring. He had said he was in the DROP program. I didn't realize he was. I thought he would be here for 5 or 10 years. And he said he was retiring. And the police officer said, no, he'll be here 5 or 10 more years. Could we clarify that? If he's retiring, I think we need to know. First Step Shelter, absolutely not get rid of Ben. We cannot get rid of the First Step Shelter. I know Ken made some comments. If we follow those things and take away the money, the county will take away the money, the cities will take away the money, and $1 million out of their budget is like their whole budget. So we really have to watch what we say and what we recommend. We need that First Step Shelter for the city. We have to have it. The other cities have to have it. It is doing a good job. It may not be as perfect. The numbers may not be as accurate as they might have been, but regardless, we can get the accurate figures. We cannot do without the shelter. Lastly, with the, two things. On the rezoning, are we going to use a 2020 figures, 7 years out of date to do the new zones? So 35,000 people will be added to the city and we're not going to have them in the new zones? So what are the parameters when we do, because the last time we redid the zoning, we were 4 years late and we did the 2020. So we can't do it at 7 years.
Thank you, sir.
Sorry. Our next speaker is Sylvester Peterson, and on deck is Jenny Nazak.
Okay, good evening. My name is Sylvester Peterson, address 408 Fremont Avenue. Okay, I'm gonna speak. I don't know if I can speak on this issue tonight. I filed a complaint on it. If I can, I will. I guess. Okay, 10/7/2024, I was riding a bicycle not too far from here, and I was hit, cleaned out in the roundabout by a truck. I was on a bike. And, things happen. It can happen to anybody. You could be walking or whatever, get hit. Okay, police came out. He was called, came out, did a report and everything, I got the report probably 3-4 days later, I don't know. Read it, everything, and seen the inaccuracies and all that. And I was kind of blown that the guy wasn't cited. He didn't even get a citation or anything. And so then that's when I started trying to get answers, but haven't really gotten sufficient answers yet. But anyway, I filed a complaint and all that, went through all that, the police department, all that, and chief said he upheld whatever they did or whatever. And I spoke to the city manager. I've been going back and forth with them about it. And then I filed a complaint on that office, but this is not about him. But I do realize the law says that he has to oversee the police department and make sure it's ran according to law. So that's how he gets involved. Not that he was there or know anything about it no more than anybody else. So it's nothing geared towards him. It's just the law. And you know, you got pictures here that they don't want to accept. There's, you know, I had an offer. The way they're citing these laws, I'm telling you, they'll tell you anything. Like one officer, the investigation officer told me, say that they only have so much time to write a citation. When you go to the law, state attorney office says that you have all the way up to a year to write a citation. I don't know where he's getting that from, but that's what he said. But the law don't say that. Okay, I asked, the guy sergeant called me and told me that something wrong with the report. He went and advised the officers to rewrite it, and that I had the right of way, and that the guy failed to yield. Well, for some reason, the officer still failed to do it in the report that he rewritten. So he's done 3 reports, but he just failed to, I don't know, he just don't want to do it. But, you know, we'll find, that's it?
Yes, sir. That's your time.
Oh, that's 3 minutes?
Yes, sir.
Wow.
Our final speaker tonight. Did somebody say something? Okay. I'm sorry. Our final speaker tonight is Jenny Nazak.
Jenny. Let's see it.
Good evening, everybody. Jenny Nazak, 501 Harvey Avenue. I always have a jillion things I want to talk to you about, but I'm just going to have to use that email for that. But this thing of Tallahassee, like somehow Daytona Beach always doesn't get money, is so not on, so not on at all. And like all of us, we can have differences of opinion, we have different politics, it's all cool, we can have differences. But when something like that is confronting us, we all just have to pull together. Any citizens listening, we ride at dawn or whatever, like whatever has to happen, we're not doing this. This is not okay. And I have to be careful. I don't want to say anything that could get anybody in trouble, but yeah, no, don't play with our city. I love this season. I love our city. I love all of you. And I have the utmost respect for everybody who gets up here and does this. Because it's real easy for us to go, oh, yeah, blah, blah, blah. But you guys are up here doing it. Thank you very much. I will see you around during the holidays. Love you.
Jenny, I love your t-shirt and your earrings.
I love that t-shirt too, girl.
I got it in Bike Week.
Yeah, that's good. All right. Good night, Daytona Beach. Happy New Year.